Cleopatra, between myth and historical truth.
Cleopatra. Today we are not just listening to a story. We are stepping into a world of kings, queens, power, and danger. A world where one decision could change the fate of an entire kingdom. This is the story of one of the most famous women in history, a queen who lived more 2,000 years ago. She was not only beautiful, but incredibly intelligent. Cleopatra was born in the year 69 BC in Egypt, in one of the most beautiful cities of the ancient world. But there was something unusual about her family. Even though they ruled Egypt, they were not Egyptian, but Greek. Her ancestors came to Egypt long before she was born, took control of the land, and ruled it for nearly 300 years. This meant Cleopatra grew up in a unique culture, a mix of Greek and Egyptian traditions. From a very young age, Cleopatra was different. While other children played, she asked questions, and while others relaxed, she studied. She had a deep curiosity about the world and wanted to understand everything: people, languages, science, and philosophy. She learned to read and write at an early age. But what made her truly special was her love for languages. She didn't just learn one or two. She learned many: Greek, Egyptian, and several others. This was extremely rare, as most rulers in her family never learned the Egyptian language because they believed it was unnecessary. They even said, "What need have we for the language of peasants?" But Cleopatra thought differently. She believed that a true ruler should understand her people. She wanted to speak to them directly, without translators, so they would trust her and feel connected to her. She didn't stop there. She studied science, mathematics, philosophy, and even music, spending hours reading books from the great library of Alexandria. She wanted to understand not just her kingdom, but the entire world. People around her began to notice and said she was the smartest person in the palace. Some even believed she was the smartest person in all of Egypt. But intelligence alone cannot protect you from danger. And danger was coming. Egypt, once powerful, was now becoming weak. Its wealth was still great, but its political strength was fading. Far away, another power was rising. Rome, a force that was slowly taking control of the world with strong and unstoppable armies. Every kingdom feared Rome, and Egypt was no exception. Cleopatra's father understood this danger and tried to stay on Rome's good side by sending gifts, money, and support. Although they mocked her father and considered him weak, they even nicknamed him the flute player. When Cleopatra was just 18 years old, her life changed forever. Her father died, and suddenly she became queen. She was a young queen in a dangerous world where power was everything, and even your own family could become your enemy. But becoming queen was only the beginning of her problems. Her rival was her own brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was only a child of 10 years old. According to tradition, Cleopatra had to rule with him, but in reality, she was the one in control because she understood politics and knew how to lead. However, this created a problem because behind the young king were powerful advisors, men who did not want a strong woman ruling Egypt. Slowly and quietly, they began to turn people against her. They began poisoning her brother's mind and spreading rumors that she was dangerous, until she found herself hunted in the streets of the city she wanted to develop and protect. Imagine that, a queen driven out of her own kingdom, losing her palace, her power, and her home. She was only 21 years old, but Cleopatra was not weak. She did not cry or give up. She went to the Syrian desert, and there she began to rebuild her strength. Although she gathered soldiers and built an army, she knew that the Egyptian army was stronger than hers. While she was planning, something unexpected happened: the arrival of a Roman fleet under the command of a great man, Julius Caesar. While Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, was staying in the palace of Alexandria, Cleopatra was in her exile weaving an impossible plan to get to him. She knew that her enemies were watching every inch, so she decided to risk her life in a final gamble. In the dead of night, a small ship arrived at the port, and from it stepped a man carrying a huge linen bundle, claiming it was a gift for the Roman general. inside the palace rooms, and to Caesar's astonishment, the bundle was opened for Cleopatra to emerge. Caesar had never seen such daring in his life. She was not just a beautiful woman, but a queen who spoke his language, understood affairs of government, and explained to him with exceptional intelligence how Egypt's stability meant Rome's stability. Caesar was impressed by her strong personality and ambition, and he soon decided to stand by her side. But this alliance ignited the fires of war. Her brother Ptolemy Xi's army besieged the palace, and the War of Alexandria broke out. These were difficult days in which ships burned in the harbor. It is said that parts of the great library of Alexandria were reached by the flames, causing humanity to lose a priceless treasure of knowledge. Ultimately, with the support of the Roman armies, her brother's army was defeated, and young Ptolemy drowned in the waters of the Nile while attempting to escape. Thus, with Caesar's help, Cleopatra regained her lost throne and was crowned as the sole queen of Egypt. Cleopatra's relationship with Caesar was not just a military alliance, but a deeper bond. She bore him a son she named Caesarion, Little Caesar, and she dreamed that this child would combine the glory of Egypt with the power of Rome. In a bold move, Cleopatra traveled to the heart of the Roman Empire and stayed in a luxurious villa to which Caesar himself had invited her. There, she amazed the Romans with her intelligence and splendor, but she also aroused the jealousy and fear of Roman leaders who feared that Caesar would turn Rome into an absolute monarchy with the help of this foreign queen. On March 15th, 44 BC, the catastrophe that shook the ancient world occurred. Julius Caesar was treacherously assassinated in the Senate at the hands of his closest allies. Suddenly, Cleopatra found herself alone in a hostile city. Her protector had passed away, and her son was in imminent danger. She did not waste a single minute and fled back to Egypt to begin the journey of preserving her kingdom's independence amidst the storms of the Roman Civil War. After years of cautious calm in Egypt, a new player appeared on the Roman scene. The commander Mark Antony, who was ruling the eastern part of the empire. Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsus in 41 BC. Instead of going as a subordinate, Cleopatra prepared a legendary scene. She sailed in a golden boat with silver oars and purple sails, for which the finest perfumes wafted, and she appeared before Antony, as if she were the goddess Aphrodite emerging from the sea. Antony, the powerful military leader, could not resist this blend of charm and political intelligence. And here, the chapters of the greatest love story and political alliance in history began. It was not just love. It was a project to create a great Eastern empire encompassing Egypt and Rome, and they had children whom they hoped would inherit this great glory. But across the sea in Rome, an enemy was watching in silence. Octavian, the cold and ambitious young man, began to wage a different kind of war, a war of rumors. He exploited the ancient Roman fear of foreigners and of strong women who rule. He portrayed Cleopatra in the Senate as a sorceress who had stolen the Roman leader's mind, and he convinced the people that Rome was in danger as long as this queen remained on her throne. The conflict reached its peak in the naval battle of Actium in 31 BC. Imagine the horizon, crowded with hundreds of warships, soldiers screaming, and fires devouring the wood amidst the crashing waves. It was a decisive moment in human history. Either the East would prevail under Cleopatra's leadership, or Egypt would submit to Rome forever. And despite Antony's courage, the fleet was broken, and Cleopatra was forced to withdraw with her ships back to Alexandria, announcing the beginning of the end. The two lovers returned to their palace in Alexandria, but this time the golden walls did not shine with joy. They whispered of the coming death. When Octavian's armies besieged the city walls, tragedy struck. Antony thought his queen had passed away, so he decided to follow her, ending his life with his sword. When he learned the truth, that she was still alive, he asked to be carried to her, to die in her arms in a farewell scene that made history weep. Cleopatra found herself alone. Octavian wanted to take her to Rome in chains to walk her in a victory parade, just as she had feared. But the daughter of the Ptolemies, who had learned 9 languages and read thousands of books in the library of Alexandria, was too smart to surrender her pride to her enemy. In August 30th BC, inside her royal tomb, the queen chose her own end. It is said she allowed a venomous SP to bite her, to die a towering queen on her throne, preferring immortality in death over humiliation in life. Cleopatra departed, but her legend did not. The story of that girl who learned her people's languages to understand them, and who faced the most powerful men in the world with her mind before her beauty, remained immortal through the ages. She was not just a queen. She was a symbol of intelligence, ambition, and the ability to survive in a ruthless world.
And here ends the story of Cleopatra, the queen who was never defeated except by fate.